Hey everybody, it's conscious medium Brandon Ross. I am back from my own vacay or whatnot or what have you. Um, just want to say a quick hello to everybody, and I would be remiss if I didn't do a Jimmy Buffett video. I mean, the man was a legend. I spent the week up at Shasta, and upon returning, found out about his passing, and I know not a lot of people are going to be watching this live, but that's okay. I hope you guys are doing well. Hey, Trish, how are you? Um, tbrandonruss.com for all you following along. You want to book me? Want to jump on the coaching calls? Coaching calls resume tomorrow, guys. It's funny. I totally could have done it right now, but didn't really get my head around it. But I saw some really interesting things about his chart. And sometimes when I do these charts, I actually, I go down this path of like, oh gosh, why did they die? Why did they whatever? I am really, really, really encouraged by how this man's chart like propelled him into who he is, who he was. Yeah, I totally look like a mountain man. Got to clean this up. Totally get it, but enjoying it in the meantime. Jimmy Buffett, as many of you know, passed away September 1st, 2023, but not before he received a bunch of accolades earlier this year. Margaritaville, as a song, was actually inducted into the Library of Congress. And those of you that are kind of like, okay, well, what does that mean? It means that it was voted in, and not voted in by fans or musicians or whatever, but as a culture. I went through all of the cultural pieces to be inducted into what we believe is the Archive of America. So Margaritaville has reached the pinnacle of what we are. And Jimmy Buffett was known for his music, for his parrot heads, for all of the things that he created. And it was really a lifestyle change. It wasn't until 1977 when changes in altitude or changes in latitude is a change in attitude or something along those lines in 77, which is where Margaritaville was, and Cheeseburger in Paradise. Oh gosh, I mean, all of his hits. I mean, the list is ridiculous. And by the way, you probably know more Jimmy Buffett songs than what you think. Everybody, of course, knows Margaritaville, but Everything Come Monday, A Pirate Turns 40, one of my personal favorites. Why Don't We Get Drunk? We'll just leave that there. But Jimmy Buffett was also declared a billionaire earlier this year. I'm going to say that, a billionaire with a B. He has assets worth over $1 billion. 180 million of it is in his Margaritaville brand. He made about almost 600 million in his touring and his merchandising and that sort of thing. And other assets, homes and shares in Berkshire Hathaway, which is interesting. He's not actually related to Warren Buffett. Yes, I did look that up. But he is very connected to it. But it was interesting that that he made a billionaires list, and now he's got, well, nothing. He created a lifestyle. He created a way of life that people were able to tap into. And when I show you a couple of things, I got 4 aspects I just want to show you in this chart. It's not a terribly long video, so I hope you stick around to the end. Be sure to like and subscribe. I'm getting back on the horse here. Allow me to shake off a little bit of the rust. But I want to show you guys kind of where he went with all of this. And right out of the gate, this is his birth chart. He was born on December 25th at 1:08 in the morning. A Christmas gift to all of us. His basic chart really kind of talks to a couple of things. First of all, he's a double Capricorn. He is a sun and a moon Capricorn, but not as a new moon. And that's kind of interesting because he kind of sheds a little bit of light here. He's kind of got a wide conjunct here to the sun and moon. But when you look at this, he's got a lot of like inner growth here. Like, and I'm going to go around and kind of talk about each one of these, but I've got different highlighted things. A couple of shout outs here. Hi, Andy. Judy, good morning. Morning, you caught my eye with that one. Hello from Ireland, love. How are you? Hope you're good, Janice. 12 likes. Yeah, there you go. Looks like there's 15 or so, but it'll grow. The right people will always see these videos. That's how I feel about this. So anyways, Jimmy Buffett in the basics of this, really kind of has a very personal chart. Like, it's a personal journey for him, and it's interesting coming back from, going up to Mount Shasta, which I totally can't wait to make some videos about some of my own personal discoveries and kind of um how everybody really kind of needs to unplug sometimes. It's a beautiful thing. So hearing that he passed away, I want to really focus in on what made him so good, what made him so amazing, right? So you've got, I'm going to move right along here. So I've got four aspects to it. I want to focus in on this third house here. He's got a lot of activity, but I want to focus in on this Jupiter Venus connection here. A couple of things right out of the gate. First of all, good looking man, right? Good looking bro. He might not be everybody's flavor, but who is, right? But he's one of these people that are just attractive. And by the way, attractive doesn't always just mean physical looks, especially when Jupiter and Venus get together. It could also mean the stability of it. And again, follow me here, because I'm building a case for why he was so important to many of us, is that he became that icon, that thing that said, oh, you know what, when I need to kick back, here's some Margaritaville. When I need to, review what it is that I need to do in my life, what am I going to relax? How am I going to relax? Why am I going to relax? All of these things kind of came through in his music. And this placement here with Jupiter and Venus together in the third house in Scorpio, he's about the pleasures of life. And by the way, being in the second house is super important. It is his dominant house, secondary dominant, but he is 100% about a lifestyle. He's about being able to present that. Wait till I show you this next chart, but I'm setting the stage for this. Good looking, practical, being in the second house. He's going to be like, hey, you take care of that. It's kind of like a work hard, play hard. Because when I show you this one, oh, we got to make this a little bit bigger, Brandon. He's got a really cool thing up here in the 10th house. He has Saturn and Pluto in conjunct in his 10th house, which means that's going to be his presenting. That's going to be his projection out to everything. Well, in case you were wondering, Pluto and Saturn together is very much about lifestyle changes. If it was in transit, let's say Pluto moving over Saturn or Saturn moving over Pluto, is about the changes that you need. It's about that change in attitude as well as latitude. It's 100% who he is and what he's famous for. And it's sitting in his 10th house right here. I'm sorry, it's a little bit smaller, but follow along. Then that plays onto his Mercury, which is sitting again in his second house, along with the southern node, with the south node kind of sitting there hanging on, kind of saying, hey, everybody, you going to change this or what? Be practical. He's not talking about being a beach bum all the time. He's talking about working hard and then taking time off. If you ever pay attention to his music, that's actually what he's talking about. He's actually talking about do the work, then take the time off, get yourself to a point, retire early. Not everybody becomes a billionaire there, Jimmy, but I'll tell you, it's good words. It's good words bringing through, right? Another thing about this with the Pluto and the Saturn there together, you can't see it here, but it's a 13 to I think 7, which is a 6th degree. He's about change. He plays those two things into change. And by the way, he got a degree from University of Mississippi. I could be wrong there. He's from Mississippi. He got a bachelor's, I think, in banking or finance, economics, one of those things that is like, okay, I know how to do a balance sheet, that sort of thing. He was a banker for a bunch of years, and he was in bar bands, and, yacht rock was what was coming out. It was, he had one album that came out in 1970, 71 that was like, okay, kind of folky. He was trying to find his way. And then he just said, you know what, we're just going to, he realized that playing live is what he loved to do. Well, sure enough, this is him saying, you know what, I'm going to have a change in latitude, change in attitude. I keep going back to this. It's in his chart, guys. It's in his chart in 2 places, by the way. But let's not be outdone here. And let's take a look at this really cool thing. Really super cool thing. So he's got Neptune in his 12th house, which makes him highly intuitive, but balanced. He's in Libra. So he's about give or take. And by the way, he was one of the most charitable people out there. He made sure that when he was on tour, he was feeding homeless. He was feeding food banks and that sort of thing. He was doing that sort of thing. But when you see this, you're going to laugh. You're going to laugh because I did. He has this really cool trine. First of all, let's take a look at the third house. Before I get to the trine, take a look at the third house. He is in almost a near conjunct to Lilith and his sun in Capricorn, which means that he's really struggling with his worth and his value to others with that combination, right? And then he has Mars in Capricorn conjunct the sun. Mars in Capricorn is a workaholic. I'm letting that sit because I know a few of you. Mars in Capricorn, conjunct to the sun. He was all about the work. And by the way, sitting there in the third house, communication makes him a great, I don't know, musician, spokesman, ambassador to the will. That is relaxation. Bubble, bubble, bubble. It's right there in his chart. Now, go back up to Neptune that forms this trine into this triad going on here. You could make the argument that it is hitting the sun. I'm going to say for the conjunct sake, it's sitting there hitting the sun, at least Mars to the action. So you have his intuition. You have his, he was creating dreams, guys. The Neptune in the 12th house, the double Pisces on the Libra was like, hey, you got to have a work-life balance, everybody. Right? I got to find my lost shaker of salt. That's what this is, right? But then there's a really cool thing, and I just laughed at this. He was about lessons. He was about the lessons of life, right? You got to stop to smell the flowers. Vesta's sitting here in the 6th house, which means that he had to be about the lesson, and he had to make about all of those things, right? So now play this off with me. It's about the dreams and about the Neptune energy going into the Mars and the Capricorn and the work hard. And then and then the Vesta, right? You can also make the argument that the Neptune came down to the Lilith and Sun conjunct, his challenge with the alter ego of feminine divine energy, right? And that there were lessons to learn. Guess what? There may have been a woman to blame. I'm going to let that sit for a second because that's just sheer gold right there, what I just said. Literally, it's in his chart. There may have been a woman to blame for his own enlightenment, for his own everything. And by the way, he was married. His first album came out and he was divorced shortly after. Then he regrouped his life, found the love of his life, and had been married since 1977. There was a woman to blame. And then he improved upon it. Oh, gosh, Jimmy Buffett, way to go. Way to go. So I'm going to give a hard tap out to the Buffett family. And again, notice how I didn't really get into how he died, why he died, or any of that other garbage, because you don't need it right here. He lived his life on his sleeve. He lived his life through his music. His chart is pretty outstanding and really stacks up for somebody that wants to show you a different way, wants to be a good teacher, and wants to be the example for everyone. He also had his own examples and things that he grew on, which is the source of maybe pain or growth or whatever. And it came out in his music. Perfect for a musician, a poet, an actor, whatever. Jimmy Buffett lived a life, guys. Isn't that kind of what we're headed for? Go be your own Jimmy Buffett. Have a great Labor Day, everybody. I'm going to give you guys a heart tap out to the Buffett family. All the parrot heads out there. And sometimes you got to keep going. Oh, by the way, I think he had a line like that in one of his songs. And everything just falls apart. Then sometimes you just got to keep going. Make sure your flip-flops are on good, guys. Heart taps. I'll see you guys soon. I'll resume regular broadcast.